And I'm just delighted to introduce to you a guy who served Republican and Democratic presidential administrations. He was comptroller of the United States under George Bush and under Bill Clinton. He is studiously nonpartisan, registered unaffiliated for, I guess, about 20 years now. And he travels the country in his role as CEO of the Pete Peterson Foundation, drawing on his experience both as comptroller, his vast experience in Washington, and his experience as a certified public accountant, educating people on what the challenges are. You're not going to feel good after this presentation, but it is going to serve as a real point of discussion for the parts 2 and 3 of this evening. So without further ado, and I should mention, by the way, that David is also a new resident of Fairfield County. He moved to Black Rock, Connecticut some time ago, and so he's one of our fellow Fairfield County residents. David, thank you for coming.
Have an opportunity to kind of state the facts and speak the truth to you.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is it possible that we could get a light on you guys because you're black?
Oh,
we
really?
can't see you. We cannot see you.
Listen, it's okay with me. I don't care. If it's possible,
Is that possible?
it's fine with me. The most important thing is that you hear what I have to say rather than you see me. But we'll see if we can get a light on you. It's more important that you see the slides than it is me, quite frankly. What I'm going to tell you now is basically just background on what the facts are, and then we can have a discussion about where do we go from here. Look at the balance sheet of the United States, plus the footnotes and the supplemental statements as of September 30, 2009, which is the last financial statement that was issued. You'll find that in the last 9 years, the total liabilities and unfunded promises for Medicare and Social Security have increased from $20 trillion to $62 trillion. We're going to have to make changes. Social Security, $7.7 trillion in the hole. Medicare, $38.2 trillion in the hole. Medicare, much bigger problem. If you look to the future budget and fiscal situation, the line represents federal revenues as a percentage of the economy, so inflation is taken out. It assumes that we return to the historical average of revenues as a percentage of the economy. You can see it was less than 20%. The all-time high was at the end of World War II, about 116%. And there's only one time in the history of the United States we've ever been over 60. Now this is debt held by the public. And that was World War II. Guess what? We're at 61% now and rising rapidly. And by the way, this does not include the several trillion dollars that the U.S. government owes to the Social Security and Medicare Trust Fund. Social Security right now is about 5% of the economy. It's going up to about 6%. It kind of stabilizes. Medicare and Medicaid are the problem. And if you look at what's driving healthcare costs, it's not just that we have more seniors, it's not just that people are living longer, it's the fact that healthcare costs go up a lot faster than inflation. And in addition to that, with high technology, and people wanting everything they can get, then they're using more and more services. Now, what about taxes? Well, this year we're going to be about $1.4 trillion short. Last year we were about $1.4 trillion short. Trillion here, trillion there, pretty soon you got real money. Now people are having a difficult time making the transition between billions to trillions. The last time that happened? Before my time, 1930s. Weren't good years. People had difficult times making the transition from what was called millions to billions. The top 0.5% of Americans earn 15% of income and pay 23% of taxes. About 42% of Americans pay no income tax. All the expressive enumerated responsibilities envisioned by the Founding Fathers for the federal government are funded primarily or exclusively by the income tax. So 42% of Americans growing get a free ride on the constitutional role of the federal government. They pay payroll taxes. In fact, more Americans pay more payroll taxes than income taxes, but those payroll taxes aren't adequate to fund the programs they're earmarked for. And so as a result, that is a dangerous disconnect in a democracy. Obviously you want people that have more and earn more to pay more, and maybe even more than we do today, but you also have to keep in mind that corporations have no duties of loyalty to countries, or states, or communities, rightly or wrongly. They will move, and they do move. And people that have very high net worth have choices. They can move too, and they do move. Many are moving out of the state, and some are even moving out of this country, although that's the last resort. Now, that's the federal government. Grown too big, spending too much, promised too much. The day of reckoning is coming. We've got to get ahead of the curve and start making tough choices sooner or later. State and local governments have problems. These are their structural deficits. Now, if you look at a study that was done by the Pew Charitable Trust, as of June 30, 2008, you'll find that, and you look at the federal financial statements, you'll find the federal government had unfunded obligations of $3.7 trillion for pensions and health care. And the state governments, not local, the state, had unfunded obligations of about $1 trillion. These are the factors causing the problem at the federal, state, and local level. These are the trends. These are the challenges. These are the things that we have to come to grips with. Expansion of government, health care, retirement income, infrastructure, inadequate and outdated tax systems, and a rampant malady of short-sightedness, tunnel vision, and self-interest. It's not our biggest problem. It's not an immediate crisis. It's the biggest opportunity to get something done and to exceed the expectations of all generations and to send a signal to our lenders and the American people that something can get done on a bipartisan basis. That's the one thing that could bankrupt this country, is out-of-control health care costs. We're the only major industrialized nation that doesn't have a budget for health care. The only one. We write a blank check. You don't do that. We've got to reform our tax system to make it simpler, fairer, more competitive, to generate adequate revenues to pay our bills and deliver on the promises we intend to keep, whether it's tax policies or spending programs. They're not evaluated based on the results. Just because you spend money doesn't mean it works. We have two systems in this country where we spend double per person and get below average results. Anybody want to guess what they are? Double per person and get below average results. Healthcare and K-12 education. And we're going to have to decide how much of this $62 trillion gap should be closed through spending reductions versus revenue increases. It's going to take both. And let me close on this. A lot of people have populist ideas as to how we're going to solve our problems. Some people say we'll grow our way out of it. It would take double-digit real GDP growth for decades. It's never happened, and it isn't going to happen. Some people say we'll inflate our way out. We can't do it because inflation reduces the burden of the current debt, but the problem is not the current debt, it's the Social Security and Medicare obligations that grow faster than inflation and faster than the economy when the economy grows. Some people say, well, let's just not extend the Bush tax cuts, let's get out of Iraq and Afghanistan, let's get rid of earmarks, and let's get rid of foreign aid. Why are we helping all these other people? If you did all what I just said, that's 15% of the problem. We got 85% left to go. We got to make some tough choices. And elected officials who have the courage to tell the truth and to make proposals need to be recognized and rewarded. And those who don't tell the truth and want to do nothing are driving this country off a cliff. And they should be held accountable. Thank you.
Hey, look, let me tell you what. There's huge waste in defense. Military health care is out of control. Huge waste in
the
defense.
Park Service out of control?
The Park Service has got waste.
Department of Energy?
Department of Energy's got huge waste in it. Okay? The fact of the matter is, pardon me? I spent 10 years on the front lines. I forgot more about where the waste is than most people do.